gewonnen. Noch einmal die Information, 1 Minute Eisbox.
Third race weekend of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup. Night has fallen here in Innsbruck in Austria, and we are getting ready to have our final heat of the third women's skeleton race of the season. Second of our two heats, the fastest 25 sleds from our 32 starters in the first field go down in reverse order. Martin Haven and Nathan Crumpton ready to watch the action. This could be a real humdinger.
Yes, it certainly could. And we have Tabby Sturker in the lead, in bronze, coming off of her win in La Plagne last weekend, taking a little hit there and seeing that, oh, she's not quite as comfortable as she could be, and maybe she could fight for another gold medal in this race. But in order to do so, she will have to overtake Mimi Reneva from Canada, who had the 11th fastest start, but drove her way all the way into the silver medal position, and only 1/100th of a second out of the gold medal spot. So what can Mimi bring here in the second heat? In order to fight for the gold medal, though, Mimi will have to take down the leading athlete, Kimberly Boss of the Netherlands, who is also the track record holder here at the Innsbruck track. She's about a second off of her track record pace. She had a couple of small issues down towards the bottom of the track, the little skid there, 9 to 10. If she can clean that up, she could walk away with it, but I think we're assured of a close race here.
Well, they always say about Innsbruck that you start where you finish, or you finish how you started. In order from the top, this is how quick they were at the start. 7th fastest, 11th fastest, fastest, 3rd fastest, 22nd fastest, Janine Flock, 21st, Nicole Severa, 19th fastest, Hannah Nizer, 11th, 17th fastest, Kelly Delka in 9th place, 26th fastest in 10th place, Jackie Pfeiffer. So it's not always all about the getaway. If you've got quick speed, that's great, but you've got to be able to drive it. Mystic Road, they're 21st. Mistakes all over the place. Her first time on this track, realistically, at the top level. She started second quickest. I mean, you can set me off a second quicker than anybody else, and I'd have lost it by corner 4. It's about driving ability as well. And this track, where the detail is so critical, it's so easy to give away time. It's impossible, or I mean, if you're not German, it's impossible to make it up. Somehow they have a way of doing that. They're not alone. I mean, Janine Flock, 22nd at the start and 5th place at the bottom.
Exactly. We've actually seen a lot of movement. It is almost defying the stereotype of Eagles as a starter track, just given how different these start times are from the down times. Does that have an effect because these are athletes that have come from La Plagne, this very intense track, and it's really the veterans who are able to adapt? To be determined, I suppose.
We will find out in the next hour. Sarah Schmidt, 25th after the first heat, will be first off. They will go in reverse order of their first heat standings. Both runs count to the total that decides the winners and the also-rans. Kimberly Boss last to go, defending the smallest lead imaginable of just 100th. Race 3 of the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup in Innsbruck in Austria. Martin Haven and two-time Olympian winter and summer Nathan Crumpton watching as Sarah Schmidt of Switzerland gets our second heat underway.
And Sarah is in that position, 25th spot, first one off the block. She gets a fresh spritz, and you're in the position where you have nothing to lose. You can let it all hang out. You can't do any worse than 25th. Why not leave it all on the ice here?
Just 18 years of age, her World Cup debut was last week in La Plagne. She's the under-20 junior world champion in women's skeleton.
And she's having a really pretty solid run so far through the upper labyrinth, entering the Kreisel, this big 270-degree left-hand corner. Clean exit as well, just a little bit of an adjustment, but she stays off of the wall. Now the tricky corner 9, little bit of a skid, but manages to avoid the hit. Close to that 100-kilometer-an-hour mark as she enters the lower labyrinth here. A little bit wild. Can she hold on?
It is dark 2 hours after the start of the first heat. The temperature has dropped notably, 54.75 compared to 54.91. She was 24th of our 32 athletes in the first heat, out of the shed that is. So track conditions will be pretty different in that second run.
She does improve. She has a big smile on her face. Here is the shot of 9 again. The legs just coming out and trying to finesse that line. Breaks into a bit of a skid, dropping the left toe, staying off of that wall, not taking too hard of a hit, just a brush, and then into 10. Big height towards the middle of 10 there.
Just 18 years of age. She's already competed in 1 World Championships, finished 13th in La Plagne last week. What a great debut that was. She's going to struggle to try and match that. Anna Fernstedt of the Czech Republic, a former medalist in World Cup races on this track. That's 24th after the first heat, just 600s in hand over Sarah Schmidt.
Yes, and I know Anna is looking to bump up a few spots here in the second heat. She was the 27th fastest starter in the first heat, 24th at the finish line. Usually she can climb up a few more spots than that. Maybe she's made some equipment adjustments in between the heats, and she'll see if she can pick off a few sliders here in this final run.
Well, she's a whisker slower in the push than she was in the first heat. So was Sarah Schmidt, and I wonder, with the refrigeration on and the humidity, maybe the start area is starting to frost up a little bit.
Not as fast in speed either, just down a little bit. Takes a brush and a bit of a skid in this middle part of the track, going into 9.
Started 2500s slower than Sarah Schmidt and only had 600s in hand.
And the speed is not there. Still down on speed, down again at the final speed trap, only 117 kilometers an hour. Something's not quite right here for Anna on run number 2.
No. So Sarah Schmidt leads, and there is Anna Fernstedt's coach for this week, Elizabeth Meyer.
Anna sitting in second currently. We'll see what that bears out with the rest of the athletes here. I don't think she's going to be too happy with it. She's a little bit slow to get up, maybe just a little bit disappointed. So here we see that, just taking a little bit of a knock there and then breaking into a bit of a skid. Doesn't do her any favors there. Breaking the form and kicking up a bit more snow and ice.
Well, before last summer she was diagnosed, or before last season she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, so she's struggling to control that the whole time, as well as stay fit as an athlete. So Sarah Schmidt, who leads, and just 700s ahead of her, was a tie for 22nd place. First up in that tie, Hallie Clark of Canada. Started 13th fastest, 5:41, so she's in front as she lies down.
She has a 5:41 to kick off her second heat. Respectable starter here, right in the middle or even the top half of the field. And so she's going to see if maybe on this run she can maintain that position a little bit better, hopefully clean up some of those errors that she made. Little bit of a slide there in this upper labyrinth, not quite keeping the runners as straight as necessary. In the green still, trying to correct it into Kreisel. Second fastest speed still in the green. Ooh, can she hold it?
Yeah, little wild coming down to the Kreisel. This is where you've got to really keep the speed on board. Tap out of 9, down into 10, second quickest.
Trying to hold that speed as best as possible. Yes, she does. Fastest speed so far, 118.6. Should keep her safely in the green as she takes the lead here with a 54.31 second heat.
All right, so Sarah Schmidt out of the leader's box. And in goes, at least for 2 minutes, Hallie Clark, which is how long it'll take the next run to go. 54.31 is the 11th fastest run of the competition so far. So that would have left her right on the fringes of the top 10 if she'd been that quick in the first heat.
There's that shot of 9, just getting a little bit too high on the end there, taking the tap on the slider's left wall, and then making a nice correction, though, before going into 10. Exiting 10 there. A little bit of airtime on that left runner, it looks like. Just not quite settled, but hey, that's an improvement, though.
Time to head home for a Christmas break after this. Next up from Great Britain, Freya Tarbit. So one of the 3 young sliders in the World Cup squad this year. Only the 3rd World Cup race for Freya. Her debut was in Winterberg in January of this year, towards the end of last season. Raced last weekend.
And she had a 5:36 start in the first heat. It was good enough for top 10. Great turnover, taking it deep. Bit of tape flapping on the side of her shoe.
Yeah, the other shoe. It was her left shoe in the first heat, her right shoe in the second. 5:39 getaway. I think the track is frosting up. Normally it's got a really high gloss glaze on it early. It's really quite matte, isn't it?
Yes, we'll see what that does over the next few sliders. Already dropping by 0.03 of a second. We'll see it in pretty smooth lines here, though, through this upper labyrinth.
Don't forget, she and Hallie Clark were tied exactly to the 100th, and they almost are still as she comes out to the Kreisel. Better speed and a good line.
Yes, that was a very nice line coming out of Kreisel. Good line going into 9. Little bit of a skid, though, and the speed's down just a tad. Oh, we'll see what happens here.
It's still going to be within a couple of hundreds at the line. She's wild in the lower labyrinth, and that's going to take it away from her. Hallie Clark will lead at the line by 0.09 of a second. You see how quickly Hallie's got wrapped up down there at the bottom. While the sun was still above the horizon, you could have waited a couple of minutes. Right now, you can't. I think the temperature is dropping relatively quickly.
Yes, it most likely is. And so, this could make for quite a wild ride on the order here. Replay here coming up. This is that tricky corner 9. Camera right on the track there, just getting hung up just a little bit. Small flop and a skid. And those small mistakes, just not keeping those runners perfectly parallel down the ice, it adds up. And then just another flop off of 10, getting a little bit airborne there. A little bit of separation between the sled and the athlete.
Hi, Grandma. Hi.
Yeah, and any one of those mistakes is worth the tiny 900ths of a second difference between her and the leader.
Exactly.
Next up, Mystique Rowe from the USA. Second fastest starter. Push gold medalist last year in her 3rd World Cup race. 3rd in Europe Cup last year. She did race on the European tracks last season. And it was Freya Tarbert, in fact, who we've just seen, who was the EC champion, 5.30. So again, she's 500 slower than her first start as well.
Yes, but that is not what made the race for her in the first heat. It was down the track that she had all these errors creep in. I know she's going to be looking to correct that, trying to stay smooth, stay calm here in the top half of the track. Really got to keep it together because she has the potential to move up a lot of spots here.
Yeah, she really does. 2,600s up from the first heat. She's nearly doubled that. Only had second best speed, though, and that's to Freya Tarbert at that stage.
A little bit of a problem there in 9. Takes a little bit of a hit out. It looks like she was skidding on only 5th best speed. This is where she's really got to keep it together, keep the sled pointed down the track. Come on, Mystique.
Yeah, slowest sled at the moment. Those mistakes early on have robbed her of pace. She's got enough. Probably not enough to move up very far. 54.50 came down 54.58 in the first heat, so not the enormous improvement I'm sure she would have been hoping for.
No, again, a tale of 2 runs where the top half was respectable, but as soon as the G-forces started increasing and the speed started increasing, she just didn't quite have the finesse on the sled, and then just getting these little micro skids going into and out of some of these corners, just washing off of curve 9 there, taking a little bit of a tap. So I know she'll be looking to improve because she has great potential on this track.
Well, we saw her take a silver medal last week in La Plagne. She's not going to take that here, but she is our current leader. 5 down, 20 to go in Innsbruck in Austria. Final race of 2023 for women's skeleton, round 3 of the BMW IBSF World Cup. Martin Haven alongside me, Summer Winter Olympian, watching the action with me, former skeleton slider for the USA and American Samoa, Nathan Crumpton. Let's see what Alessia Crippa's got at the start.
She had a great start in the first heat of 5.35, and she improves on it. Wow, 5.31 in the second heat here. One of the few, if not the only athlete to improve on a second heat push.
Rubs the wall in the Exeter 2 down to 3. That's going to take a little bit of that speed away. Now, she had, what, 300ths of a second in hand over Mystique Rowe.
Yeah, it's one of those narrow margins that we have here. So common on the Eagles track. A little bit down on speed. Pretty nice exit there out of the Kreisel. Goes very late into curve 9, but comes out quite cleanly. Just a bit of a skid there. 5th on the speed trap right here into the lower labyrinth.
Yeah, similar speed that Mystique had as well, actually. She was 5th quickest as well, so is it the mistakes early on, or is the speed coming out of the track as the temperature drops? 54.49. She comes across the line 400ths in front of the American, so she has basically doubled her advantage from the first heat, and she is a little bit beaten up by the outrun.
Oh, we hope she's okay there. That outrun here in Eagles, it's soon to be repaired, so I am told. Here we see the shot going into the Kreisel. There's that first pressure. She rises up on the sled and then goes around that big left-hander and then controls the second pressure pretty well, holding her form. Solid exit.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Buona Natale, Happy New Year as well. Well, Alessia Crippa was 300ths ahead of Mystique Rowe, 400ths ahead of Mystique Rowe, and 100th ahead of Alessia Crippa was her teammate Alessandra Fumigali. So we had this massively tight bunch here, 4 sleds covered by 500ths of a second.
And some really great starting athletes here. They've done a lot of work in the gym in the off-season, and it's clearly showing off here. She had a 5:33 in the first heat, and then in the second heat, a 5:31 as well. Ties her teammate, and 1/100th of a second in the bag.
Yeah, so 100th from the first heat, and that's what her lead is. Second best velocity as well, and that's all part of the equation. It's not just how quick you cover the ground, it's how much energy you can put in when you load as well.
She's so nice and composed. Goes really early into Kreisel though. Best speed so far. We'll see how it comes out. Little bit of a touch on the wall. 2/10 in the bank almost.
Got away with it though without any skids.
Little skid and a hit there, dropping to 4th fastest on the splits.
Not too bad, but don't forget there was only 100th in it with Alessia Cripper. She's a 1/4 of a second clear at the moment.
Still in the green, crossing the line.
All right.
Yes, 54.33 with nearly 2/10 in the lead.
And that is the 11th fastest run of the competition. We had 32 sleds in our first heat. We've just had another 6 down. So faster than at least 40 other athletes at the moment. Breathless stuff.
Indeed, this is that exit of 9. She takes a very unorthodox line through there, similar to the Chinese athletes, but doesn't quite finesse it and takes that little tap before going into 10. Exit of curve 10 into the lower labyrinth. Again, some body separation. A little bit of separation between her body and her sled, but held it together.
Teammate Alessia Cripper went 600ths quicker. She's just gone 2400ths quicker than her first heat, and that puts pressure on this lady. Jane Channel, 4th fastest starter, came down 100th in front of Alessandra Fumagalli, the 5th fastest starter.
100th. Some really tight racing here in Eagles. Jane with a 5:30. Nice improvement for Jane as well. And she's going to need that every little 100th. Makes that adjustment. Came out a little bit early from 2, but still holding with the fastest velocity at the top of the track.
Yeah, tied with Mystique Rowe, who started on 5:30 as well.
Little bit of some foot adjustment, spots her line going into the Kreisel. The speed, though, is just a little bit down, just time bleeding away.
Yeah, too much work with the toes, maybe. Every drag slows you down as well as steers the sled.
A little bit of a skid there on the straightaway. 6th fastest speed. Time just slipping away from her. The sled is not out of control, though, but maybe just a bit too much. Oh, no, she's off the sled. Oh, gosh, Jane.
Well, she's got back on.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, my gosh.
Exactly, Alessandra Fumagalli didn't want to see that either. Really big hit swooping down off the final corner.
Oh, no.
Sled's not going to come in sight. She's okay. All right, helmet off. She's okay.
Oh, gosh, Jane. Oh, we've seen so many athletes have problems down there at the lower part of the track. It starts just exiting 10 and then just not being able to maintain control. Oh, it just went the wrong way for Jane. She wasn't able to hang on to it. There we go, lower labyrinth, still on her sled. She gets hung up. There, she gets hung up off the sled, and then that separation. Oh, and then just a wild ride through that bottom part of the track. Then she manages to get back on. She's on the sled, but hits the short wall. Oh, that's a tough hit. And then flipping it just before the finish line. Oh, that's tough to see.
And it was really tough to see. It's confused the timing system as well, because it looks like she went across the eye in 2 separate runs. There is a B system that will give us the time for her. What we do know is that she will not be the leader, and right now she doesn't care.
No, she looks okay. Thankfully, she's walking. She's coming up the outrun, and she did hold on to her sled, so she should have a legal finish time. You have to finish, according to the rules, with your sled as you cross the finish.
Alessia Cripper there. You can see Hallie Clark, everybody looking over the wall. There's Alessandra Fumagalli as well. Just want to make sure that their colleague is okay.
And a round of applause for Jane.
Yeah.
Tough day at the office for her.
Everybody knows how much this sport can hurt.
Yeah, she says she's okay. That's what I'm sure her family and friends want to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
2 minutes.
So back home in North Vancouver, I'm sure her mum and dad are feeling a little less stressed than they were about 60 seconds ago. That was a high velocity run down on the wrong line through the lower labyrinth.
Oh, the history of Jane with this track, whether it's hitting brooms or just having rough finishes.
Just
Heart goes out to her.
Absolutely so. So little temporary track hold as we wait for clearance for Amelia Coltman at the top of the hill there.
And as you mentioned, so this is a safety measure. The track workers have to go through and make sure nothing came off of the sled, there's no debris on the track, and make sure that it is safe for the next slider to go down.
Go on, Mills. Come on.
So Amelia Coltman stripping for action. You can tell how much the temperature's dropped. There's no longer fog in the air except for where people are breathing out.
Yes,
so it is definitely getting down to 0 degrees, if not lower.
Yep, continues the trend of the wild weather patterns today here in Austria.
It's a little bit like being home in the UK for the Brits. Can't quite make its mind up or not whether it's going to rain or snow, be fine or cold or hot.
Come on, Mills.
So Amelia Coltman getting the hurry up from her team. Let's see where she's going to end up. Amelia, 17th place after the first heat, off the 18th fastest start.
And this can be a little tricky for the athletes. You have a freeze, you're in this mental zone, you're ready to go, and then they hold you for 2 minutes because of a crash. And so this is a reflection of what can you do psychologically? Can you get your focus back in to the sport, into the game, into your run, and we'll see what she does.
Well, there are two things going on, aren't there, for the athlete? First is to keep your focus, and second is you know why there's a hold. There's only ever one reason. It's very rarely technical. It's almost always that somebody else has had a crash.
Yes, indeed. And so it's how do you adapt to that? Can you maintain that focus? Can you get back on the sled and do what you need to do? Starting off with a 5:51.
Quicker than her first start. So there's the answer to whether or not she retained her focus. Only the 7th best velocity early on, but that is the 7th fastest start of the run so far.
Still behind the Italian leader by about 1/4 of a second as she goes into the Kreisel. Second fastest speed, though, still 0.3 of a second down.
Well, she was 0.2 slower at the start than Alessandra Fumagalli and only had 400s in hand over her, so she's going to take a while to unwind that start deficit. Is this where it happens? She does not have the speed that the Italian has, even close.
No, she took a couple of these hits out of Kreisel and just was not able to carry the speed down. I don't think we're going to see Amelia into the leader's box.
Chin on the ice, Amelia Coltman. So Alessandra Fumagalli stays in the lead. A little bit of celebration going on there with her teammate, Alessia Crippa.
Yeah, 54-57 for Amelia. Not quite the run that she was looking for. And again, it is hard to come back after a track hold, and something that comes with experience, and I'm sure there'll be better days for Amelia in the future.
Well, last week was Alessandra Fumagalli's World Cup best result, 12th place, better than her previous best by 1 spot in La Plan. So she's creeping up towards there. And Amelia Coltman, there's that little bump out on the wall. She was missing the wall, but the wall then comes out.
Yeah, just came out and hit the short wall just a bit.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah. It'll get merrier the further she gets away from it. Now look at the smile on this woman's face. This is Julia Erlacher, 32nd of our starters. And the Austrian made the field.
She did, and she did it with a great start, too. A 5:34 in the first heat. That was good for 7th best. That puts her right in the mix. We'll see if she improves here on the second heat.
Even if she manages to match that and then has just a couple fewer errors, she could really leap up the order. 5:35, she's got great speed under her, and all she needs is a bit more experience. She could be a real medal contender.
Yes, indeed. 5th fastest velocity, though, so some of it may have crept away from her there at the top bit of this track, and she's already in the red. Bled out, she's 0.02 of a second behind. She's got to keep it together here if she wants to have a chance to make the lead here.
Was 1200s up. She's now 1100s back. Only the 7th best speed is going the wrong way for Julia Erlacher.
It is, unfortunately, and that tap out of the Kreisel is not going to help. Steers really hard, stays straight out of curve 9 into the big curve 10.
Great looping height and a good exit out of 10. Speed's coming back. Not enough ice left to catch the leader. Where does she end up? In second place, 1600s back.
54.61 there for Julia. Oh, so she's going to drop back, which is never the great feeling. You always want to improve on your second run if you can, but hey, she's got a smile on her face, so she's happy at least to finish the run.
Well, the next 3 athletes that follow her down in total are only separated by 400ths of a second. So it's quite possible she might move up still, depending on how they fare, because there's no guarantees.
No, there's not. As we saw, that you do have to get down this track in one piece, and there are tricks. Everyone says it's an easy track, but yeah, there are spots that can catch you here.
Hey, even on the flattest ice skaters fall over. When you're pushing it to the edge, you make mistakes. Alessandra Fumagalli is our leader, 15 to go. China's Li Yuxi, 15th after the first heat, off the 14th fastest start. Race 3 of the Women's Skeleton World Cup here in Innsbruck in Austria.
And a 5:46 start puts her in a dead heat. As you mentioned, Martin, we have a string of racers here, incredibly tightly packed. We could see a lot of shifting up and down the leaderboard over these next 5 sliders. So the question is, what are we going to see here? Already falling 1500ths of a second behind.
Well, Alessandra Fumagalli ended up our current leader in 19th after the first heat, but starts a quarter of a second quicker than Lee. So Lee's got a lot of ground to make up, and that was not a comfortable exit out of the Kreisel.
No, I was just about to say she is not looking too comfortable on the sled. Maybe the nerves are getting to her, and a little bit of a skid as well. Not quite ideal.
Lots of tap dancing going on. The toes doing as much heavy lifting as any other part of the body. Third best speed. She's not going to be in the lead at the line. Is she even second? Yes, she is. She halves the gap between Fumagalli and Julia Erlacher. So Li Yuxi moves into second place with some 13 sleds still remaining. 14 sleds still remaining because we had a tie for 13th place. Enough to fool a simple man. Luckily, I spotted it eventually.
And there we go. We just see the break in the form, the legs coming out really wide. It's indication that she's not fully in control of her sled. And then going quite late there into curve 8. Not quite the run that she wanted.
That's a great English expression that a lot of sliders pick up on. Not sure if it translates into many other languages. Olympic champion does, world champion does too, and that's Susanne Kreher of Germany here. And with each of these sleds, gradually the little increments that they have ahead of Alessandra Fumagalli grow. But so far, Fumagalli has picked off Jane Channel, Amelia Coltman, and Julia Erlacher, and Li Yuxi. So she's moved up 4 spots. There's nothing to say. She might not move up another couple because we've got 2 Germans tied exactly here. Susanne Kreher and next Tina Hermann.
And a 5:41 for Suzanne, so she improves by over a 10th, which is great, and that's where I expected to see her earlier on. She is a good athlete, but she had that slower than expected push in that first heat.
Yeah, 5:54, unexpectedly slow.
But she's already dropped back into second spot here. She's in the red. I wonder if maybe the track is going away or if there was a wrong choice in the sled setup. It's a mystery.
The other issue is Fumagalli was still a 10th quicker, so she's still got better velocity down to the Kreisel. And then those mistakes on the way out.
Yes, indeed. Those are not going to do her any favors as she makes her way to the bottom part of the track. But she's in the green, though, with some German wizardry, though. Manages to pick up some speed, and she may indeed take the lead.
And she does. Finally, the world champion beats Alessandra Fumagalli. She can't catch them all. See what I did there? All right, I'll stop. 54.30. And again, a run that looked like it was going nowhere below the Kreisel. Suddenly, from 9 to 10, she tidied it up and just built that speed.
And it's so hard to do. I think that's a testament to the great German material, the equipment that they use, because those double tap right there, that doesn't help you at all. You see the ice kicking up. This is as she goes into curve 8 here. And then somehow she put on the afterburners after curve 10 and took the lead.
And if you think it takes no energy out of the sled, kick an ice wall with your toes and let me tell you how much it doesn't hurt afterwards. It takes a lot of speed out, even just a simple tap like that. So, 1 world champion versus 4 world champions here in the form of Tina Hermann. They were tied exactly. Susanne Kreher won her title in February in St. Moritz. And we're looking here at a 4-time skeleton world champion, a multiple race winner, Tina Hermann.
And she had a fantastic drive in the first heat, coming up from 27th all the way to 13th place, and she kicks it off with a 5.67 in the second heat.
38 medals in her World Cup career alone. She won here in 2016-17, took a bronze in the second COVID season, 2021.
Wow, what a CV that she has. But it looks, you wonder, how is she going to make up 0.4 of a second? She looks like she's so far back, and here it is. It starts right here. The fastest speed in the middle of the track. Exiting Kreisel, clean exit. Oh, is she going to work her German magic? Let's see.
Well, again, she'll spend a kilometre undoing the start deficit and then has 200 metres to try and make an improvement. 101.2, best speed we've seen. 120.7, best speed we've seen. Is she going to tie with Kreia to the 100th, or will she lead? By 500, she leads. 54.25. This is tight as you like. I mean, two superb builders of speed on the sled. Yeah, I think she's just hitting the wall again.
She's a perfectionist.
Yeah.
You saw it. She wasn't happy with her line in that lower labyrinth, but hey, she's in the lead, but still disappointed. She has such high standards for herself. She's always fighting for that podium position. This is the exit out of curve 9. Looks straight. She just has to make a little correction. You see that right toe just coming down just for some body angle. She doesn't even drag it on the ice, though, and gets a great entry into 10.
Yeah, just a little bit of aerodynamic disturbance. Talking to her yesterday in training, she said, this is not my track. Well, she still is going at it like she wants to win the track over. Tina Hermann leads, 12 to go. And next up is China's Chao Dan. Chao, 15th fastest starter, came down 12th place at the end of the first of our 2 heats. If she can pick up a spot or 2 here again, it's a very tight battle. She was 100th ahead of Kreia and Hermann. She's 200 behind Jackie Pfeiffer of Germany.
5:43 for her start, improves by 0.03 of a second. That should be competitive. She's top 10 in terms of both start time and velocity at the top of the track here, and building it to about 0.4 of a second of a lead. Wow.
I think you need half a second at the Kreisel for what Tina Hermann does below the Kreisel.
Agreed.
3700s, okay, so she's no longer opening up the advantage on Hermann. It will now only come down. The question is how much she can limit that retraction of her lead. Second fastest, that's decent.
It is. She's got a 2300s. It might be enough. We'll see.
It's about a kilometre an hour slower than Hermann went. It's going to be close at the line. She is in front, though. Not as close as I thought. 54.12. That's a good recovery run from Chao Dan. And that would have been enough for 8th place in the first heat.
That is a solid run, showing some experience there. Coming into a veteran status. She's been around on the tracks for a number of years now, and that's a great showing.
Here's how good Hermann is. Chao Dan started 2400s quicker than Tina Hermann, came down just 1300s quicker. It should be nearly 3 times the 2400 start advantage. That's how good a driver Tina Hermann is. So Chao Dan still has room to maneuver if she wants to make it to the top of the sport. Well, she is our current leader. And next up is the USA's Sarah Roderick. What a great first run from her. 11th fastest, off the 5th fastest start, granted, but Sarah does not have intimate knowledge of these European tracks the way her European rivals do.
That's correct, and she starts with a 5:39. That is a solid start as well for Sarah, and she's going to need it. Not quite as fast as her first heat, but it should put her in the mix. But critically for Sarah is that she's got to clean up the bottom of her track.
Well, she's got great potential. 30 years old, made her debut in Eagles in January 2021. We didn't see her again until last week in the World Cup.
Only the 13th fastest speed, though. The lead has come down, and that hit out of the Kreisel is not going to help her. Already falling 1/10 of a second back from the leader here.
Well, the question then is how far does she fall? She was previously 16th best position.
Oh, down to 5th, it looks like. 9th best speed, coming through the speed trap and across the line.
All right, sixth with 10 to go, so that is at the very least a PB equaling run. She was 17th last week in La Plagne, 16th today, and that equals her previous best World Cup result. And it's on those metrics that you judge yourself when you are new to tracks and new to this level of competition, not on what the leader does, it's on what you do compared to what you have done.
Exactly. So great experience, great learning experience for Sarah here. And this is, like we say, it takes time. With the experience, she'll get more relaxed and those results will come. She's a great athlete, just got to put it together.
30 years old, 5th fastest starter. Now Xiaodan leads from Tina Hermann and Suzanne Kreyer. We have 10 sleds to go here in Innsbruck. And another world champion for Germany, Jackie Pfeiffer. Jacka is back. 26th fastest starter, 10th at the finish line.
Yes, like we like to say, German speed merchant, just building that speed all the way down the track. We'll see if she can do it again.
Right, let's see what she's got. Her slender advantage over Tina Hermann, just 1/10 of a second from the first heat. She starts the same time as her teammate, so that remains constant.
Yeah, so this, if you need a lesson in how to slide, Jacka always has fantastic form. Relaxed, super minimal movement, feet really close together. She just builds speed, she stays quiet, she stays calm on the sled, she's spotting her entries, don't see too much wiggling. And there we go, fastest speed so far exiting the Kreisel, just a small little nudge, but time is coming down and oh, she's hunting for that lead. Fastest speed again, and she comes in. She's up to 2nd spot, 100th of a second. Can she get it into the green? Into the green. She's got the low wrapper to build a lead, and she comes across 1500ths in front. 54.06 takes Xiaodan out of the leader's box after just one sled. 2 sleds. So Jackie Pfeiffer leads, guarantees herself a top 10 result. Yeah, Jacka does it again, coming back at the bottom of the track, just building so much speed. Here we see just flirting with the slider's left wall, but she doesn't freak out. She makes a nice little correction. No real ice kicked up. Spots the entry into 8. Nice job, Jacka. 56th World Cup race for Jacka compared to the 14th for Xiaodan. So that's the depth of knowledge she's got. Quite a lot of knowledge here as well for Puerto Rico's Kelly Delka. What a first heat she had. Her 18th World Cup start. 35-year-old knows where she's going. Best ever World Cup result, 14th place in Lake Placid 3 or 4 years ago. 5:53, looking to hang on in the top 10. Yes, and what a result this would be for Kelly. She's got a lot of experience. She and I actually started sliding the same year, and she's still in the sport. She just loves it so much. She loves the speed. She loves the thrill. Really happy to still be competing. 1500s up on Jacka. She's building her advantage at the moment, and she needs to, because she's not going to have as good speed at the bottom. 88.5. No, she's down in the teens in terms of the speed, and she just dropped back into 2nd place, falling 500ths behind Jacka, making these toe corrections, not doing herself any favors. Come on, Kelly, guys, stay calm here. She had a really clean first run. Look at the speed at the bottom. That's much better. She's not going to lead this, but she is going to drop down the order to 5th position at the line. 54.58 with 8 sleds to go. That's a 13th place finish, guaranteed at least. That will be an all-time career high in World Cup races. So muy bien to Kelly Delka, representing Puerto Rico with that fantastic speed suit, as we mentioned earlier. And again, not because of her start speed. 17th fastest at the start in the first run out of the 32 athletes. So real middle of the pack, but she led for a long while after her first heat, ended up in the top 10. And she may yet pick up a spot or 2. Yeah, we just see her shoulders coming up off of that sled, that aerodynamic profile, just hurting her a little bit there. Again, if you are from Puerto Rico or you want a skeleton
horse in the race, Kelly Delker would definitely welcome your sponsorship. Next up for Belgium, Kim Marmans. Let's see what she can produce. 1200s is her lead over the current leader, Jackie Pfeiffer, from the first run.
And a 5:38 start, very competitive. Kim, also a great slider as well, fantastic aerodynamic form. She's always melted into that sled. Her Bromley sled, custom Bromley sled, I should mention. And we're gonna see already out to almost half a second lead.
Yeah, advantage from the start, added to the advantage from the first heat, plus that extra momentum. But again, 89.2 compared to Jacka's 89.7, so half a K down by the Kreisel.
Yeah, they're from 9 into 10 on that straightaway. Still fourth fastest speed, over 100 kilometers an hour. This could be quite close. 0.2 of a second.
I think she's got enough still in the lower labyrinth. If she's clean, she will have the lead at the line. She does. 54.10 for Kim Marmans, guaranteed no worse than 8th place finish here.
Yes, and boy, that came down. That was really close at the end. Less than 1/10 of a second for Kim Marmans.
Well, last year she took the bronze medal, last season rather, in February this year. She took the bronze on this track.
Christmas, that's it. See you next year.
Yeah, we'll see you next year for sure.
And there it is, that shot from 9 to 10, going over that little crest there, just spotting her entry. Great aerodynamic form, nice smooth line. Good slide from you, Kim.
Nice height. Right, so Kim Marmans was third, Hallie Clark was second, Kimberly Boss was the winner in February. We still have Kimberly Boss to come, but there are 6 more sleds before we get to her. First of whom is Olympic champion Hannah Neiser.
And Hannah, she had a great run. She had the 19th fastest start. She finished in 7th spot in the first heat, jumping up 12 positions. If that tells you anything, it tells you this woman knows how to drive a sled.
She started 3400s slower than the fastest starter and came down about 0.2 behind. It should be about a second behind off a start like that. 5:55, so not quite as quick as her first getaway.
No, only 200ths off that first heat, but this is where she puts on the show. It's on the sled, driving down the ice. Nice line, little bit of adjustment coming into this upper labyrinth here. She's got about 1/4 of a second that she has to make up. Here now, spotting her entry going into the Kreisel. Only the 8th fastest speed though, 89.1 kilometers an hour. And the middle of the track, it's down to 0.2 here. I don't know if the track is gonna be long enough. Ooh.
If she's clean, it will be. She can't afford any more errors. Kim Marmans was very good in the lower labyrinth. Ooh. She's late.
Oh, got hung up there in the lower labyrinth. I don't know.
Not enough. It's not enough. No. That drama when you're up on one runner, it really slows the sled. 54.38. She came down 54.11 in the first heat.
We've seen so many athletes do that. They have this problem down in the lower labyrinths, 11, 12, 13, just getting hung up on the end, and it's so hard to recover from that. Really burns a lot of time.
If you're late in one of them, you're late in all of them, aren't you? And that's the problem.
Exactly. There's a domino effect to it.
It's not just one corner.
Yeah. Oh, getting fully airborne there. Both runners off of the ice, and not the only person to do that today.
Nope. Not the first, may not be the last. Kim Marmans leads with 6 to go. Richard Bromley, the sled builder, with his hybrid Bromley sled.
Yes, indeed. My apologies to Nicole and to Richard. I accidentally called that a Schneider sled, but no, this is the new Bromley sled on the market. It is a custom-made sled. And I tell you what, Nicole drove it up 15 spots from a 21st position start all the way to 6th. This tells you something. What a phenomenal drive. Can she hold it here in the second heat?
10th in hand over Kim Marmans of Belgium. So it's Belgium or Brazil to lead after this 5:55 getaway. Same as Hannah Neiser.
Drops at 700ths just off the bat, but that's not where she made her mark in the first heat. It was down in the bottom half. She's got to stop the bleeding here at 1600ths. She needs to start clawing it back. right around here at the Kreisel. Maybe a little bit of a deficit, but then she's got to come back if she wants a chance. Second fastest speed, though, 89.6.
Yeah, quicker than Kim Marmont, her training partner. They're both on the same sleds, produced by the same engineer. They train together, travel together. Ooh!
Little wild, still third fastest speed, 101.
Nah, she's not going to do it. Not with those mistakes.
I don't know, 100th of a second.
Only 6th best speed. I'm not sure. It's going to be close. Brazil or Belgium? It is Belgium.
Belgium. 400ths of a second. That is some tight racing. 54.24 for Nicole.
Yep. Well, that still means a top 7 finish guaranteed. She slots into second ahead of Jackie Pfeiffer, Hannah Neiser, and Xiao Dan, who are tied together in 4th. Nobody likes to lose a spot, but if you're gonna lose a spot, I suppose it's to your best bud.
Yeah, and if you got to pick out one of the airs, it's right here. The end of corner 9, just getting lifted up, hung up on the end, and then that puts you into the wall and into a skid, and that is easily those 700ths of a second.
Yeah, if that's not worth a 10th or 2, I don't know what is. So Kim Marmont leads by 400ths from Nicole Silveira, Jackie Pfeiffer in 3rd. We have 5 to go. Final 5 sleds, including Austria's Janine Flock. 99th World Cup start for the veteran slider. Previous sporting career, nothing, actually. Did a little bit of not much. And then came to the track as a teenager with the dad of her next-door neighbour, Manfred Meyer, the Austrian bobsled coach. The rest is history.
And to tell you how solid her first run is, she jumped up 17 spots from the 22nd fastest start to the 5th fastest by the finish. That is a testament to her knowledge, her experience, and the home track advantage that she has here. And just her form is flawless. Fastest speed, 89.8.
5:59 start. It's always going to be undoing that start deficit for Janine. Broke her nose in training in La Plagne. Should have raced last week. This should have been her 100th ever World Cup start, but was not. Best speed of all. She's in the lead. She's going to be top 5. How high can she rise? She was only a 10th from the lead in the first run. 54.09. Well, that's not quite as quick as her first heat, and that little rub on the wall at the finish line might be enough to deny her a medal. Never count her out, especially on this. Oh, she's banging her head. She's really annoyed with herself, swooping down out of the final corner, clipped the wall.
Oh, she's so hard on herself. Oh. And this is the bottom of the track, lower labyrinth. Again, just a little bit of late height. Oh, gets that one runner off the ice, it looks like. Yep, flops down, gets a bit of separation between herself and the sled. Not as smooth as she wants it, but still, nonetheless, she's in the lead.
It's always so nice to chat to Janine, just so relaxed. And she had a real shot at winning this, a 10th off the lead, even in 5th place. It's only a 10th of a second. This is anybody's race. It could be Janine's, it could be Valentina Margalio's. She was only 100th ahead of Janine Flock, but if she doesn't make those mistakes, she might win her first ever World Cup race.
Yes, and Valentina, her sliding has come a long way. She was the 3rd fastest starter, and she only dropped 1 spot. She was in 4th place after the finish. So this could be really close. Let's see what she does.
Well, she found another 300s at the start alone. Translate that down to the bottom. That's 900s or so. That might be enough to put her in the frame. This does have to be an absolute gold medal run, though. There's no gimmies in this.
No, she's opened it up to over half a second. Now it's down to half a second exactly, and only the 10th fastest speed. Ooh, Valentina's really got to keep it together here if she wants. Burned another 10th away. It's down to 4/10 of a second.
Legs apart, adapting to this Schneider sled. 8th best speed. This may not be enough for gold. She should take the lead. Gap's down to 2/10 of a second. It's going to run out before the bottom. She'll only have a handful of seconds of tenths left. 400s, 54.06. So she was quicker than Janine Flock.
And a very comparable time, only 400ths of a second slower than her first heat. So I gotta say, hat off to Valentina. Her sliding has come such a long way. Getting that consistency, getting 2 runs back-to-back with great starts and very similar downtimes.
Look, she finished 9th here in February. She'll be no worse than 4th. That's a big improvement on the same track.
Yes, indeed. Here she is coming out of the spur into corner 1. More relaxed on her sled, just the legs coming out a little bit here and there, just ruining that aerodynamic profile that you like to see, but she has come such a long way, and now she is fighting for a podium spot.
1 bronze, 1 silver in her World Cup career. Is she going to add to her medal tally? All right, last week's winner, Tabby Sturker. Well, again, a race of 2 parts for Tabby. First part down to the Kreisel, great. Second part, a mess. Let's see what she can tidy up.
She has fantastic turnover, a lot of explosion in the legs, 5:25 for her start, second fastest start so far in the field, and that's going to help her cause.
Started 5:19 in the first heat, so she'll be worried where that 600ths of a second has gone to, but best velocity of them all, and already starting to creep away. 500ths over Valentina Margallo becomes 900ths, and Valentina started faster.
Down to 600ths, this could be a race, and again, not the best speed, only 16th best. Takes a little bit of a brush out of the Kreisel, 500ths of a second. Oh boy, this could be a close, no, a big long skid. That's not gonna do her any favors.
Big looping height in 10th. Let's see if she can, in corner 10, let's see if she can find something at the bottom. I think Valentina Margallo could be leading at the end of this run. Last week's winner won't do it again. 300ths back, 54.13. Valentina has a medal. That could be her 2nd bronze of her career. Tabby Sturker, World Cup race number 3. Currently lying in 2nd with 2 to go.
Oh, and you just see the disappointment on her face. You know, oh, it was so close, and just those errors, they crept in at the bottom half of the track. It started right here, just a little brush and getting slightly offline coming out of the Kreisel. And then this was the big one, though. Out of corner 9, the tricky corner 9. It has a pressure and a half, and the athletes have to make the adjustment, and her sleds, it just went sideways. Runners went sideways, and then she's just skidding, brushing off valuable speed. Oh.
All right.
Hi everyone at home. Oh, you win some, you lose some, eh?
Second, yeah, well, you won your 2nd ever race. Let's refocus on that. 2 to go then. Lots and lots of experience in our final 2. Multiple race winner Mimi Reneva of Canada. Let's see what she can produce on this track. Mimi tied for 4th here in February. 4 gold, 4 silver, 6 bronze medals in her career.
And a 5:41 from Mimi. She's usually a stronger starter. She had 11th fastest start in the first heat, drove herself all the way up into that silver medal position. She's relying on her experience. She's relying on her skill, just being able to navigate down the ice. She's got about 2/10 of a second to make up here.
Again, so much about one tiny error here can make the difference, particularly when we get to the sharp end. Top 5 sleds covered by a 10th. At the moment, it's Margallo, Sturker, and Flock in the medals. Can Mimi hang on? Can she drag herself back into the lead group? Top 3 are covered by just 400ths of a second. You're going to beat them all or none of them. And she's dropping away.
It's going to be close. It is a nice, tidy run. I don't know if it's long enough, though.
500ths back. She's 4th. 500ths off the lead. Valentina Margallo leads with 1 to go. Can she win this?
Oh, my goodness. Wow, what a race. Such tight racing here in Eagles. Oh.
A 10th of a second covers the top 5 athletes in the women's race. 1st to 2nd after the first heat in the men's was 1100ths. 2nd to 3rd was another 1100ths.
Oh, and these lines are nice. It just didn't come together. The speed wasn't quite there. This is a great 9 to 10. Hanging on to that edge and just dead straight going into 10. It does not get a lot better than that. It's where did the speed go? Maybe it's just she didn't have quite enough velocity at the start.
Hey, Canada. 1 to go. Kimberly Boss, winner here in February. Can she do it again? Well, her advantage over Valentina Margallo, 9 slender hundredths of a second. She will give that away in the start.
Yeah, she is a strong starter, but Valentina is just that much faster. A 5:38 to start for Kim.
Yeah, 1,600 slower than Valentina Margalio, so all of the advantage is gone. Now it's driving to gold or not. Brings the gap out to 1,100s.
And I know Kim had a couple of errors in her first run that I know she's trying to improve on, so a gold medal is not out of the question. Gap's down to 800ths of a second, third fastest speed, bringing it back. Oh, this could be close, down to 400ths of a second.
Loosey-goosey on her Bromley sleds. This is the way she loves to slide.
Nice line, fifth fastest speed, and back into the green.
Into the green, 500ths of a second. This is what it takes. She's going to be clean through the lower labyrinth. Victory for Kimberly Boss, her second in Innsbruck in succession. Valentina Margalio, a silver medal, and bronze for Tabby Sturker. 3 races in her career. Sturker now has 2 World Cup medals, and Kimberly Boss, winner in February, wins in December.
Oh, and that's a happy athlete right there, and it's always a great day when you win a World Cup gold medal. Congratulations to Kim, holding on to that lead. Really consistent runs, both under that 54-second barrier in these weather conditions. That's a great feat.
And what a consistent 2 or 3 seasons she's been having. Former World Cup champion, she was runner-up in the overall World Cup race last year. She was the Olympic silver medalist in Beijing, a bronze medalist in Beijing. She was the World Championship silver medalist in St. Moritz. She is back, a winner here in Innsbruck. Exactly so, number 1. Well, she doesn't start as fast as the very fastest Tabby Sturker, but she's in the top half dozen, which gives her every shot. Remember 2 or 3 years ago when she was injured and she was literally walking off the top? Those days are distant memories. Kimberly Boss is back in winner's circle here in Innsbruck. She takes her second win in a calendar year on the Austrian track. Well, there you go. Yeah. Kimberly Boss held on to win it and actually doubled her advantage over Valentina Margalio. Margalio takes a second career silver. Tabby Sturker takes her first bronze medal of her career, ahead of Janine Flock by 100th, Mimi by 200ths, behind her in 5th position. Well, again, some ludicrously tight racing here in Innsbruck. That's the nature of this track. It's short, it leaves no room for errors. And Kelly Delka, 13th, equaling her career, in fact, better than her career previous best, after a great run from the athlete from Puerto Rico. And that is the final result. And actually, Jane Channel not given a time, so they're judging that she and her sled were separate as they came across the line, which is a kind of tough insult added to injury. So Kimberly Boss, her first win of the season. 3 races. We've now had 3 different winners. Tina Herman in Beijing, Tabitha last week, and now Kim this week. So Tabby Sturker winning in La Plagne, Kim Boss winning here. 3 different race winners. And Tina Herman today finishing just outside the top 10 in 11th spot. And that may mean we have a change at the top of the World Cup rankings. I wouldn't trust my maths even if I'd written it down, and I haven't. So we'll wait and see where that comes up. But Kimberly Boss, that's a great way to go into Christmas, Nathan Crumpton. It
is indeed. Ending the season and the year on a high note. Waves from Kim. Doesn't end any better than that.
Great.
Well, let's take a look here over the Kreisel.
Replay on.
As we wait for our World Cup rankings, it is Kimberly Boss at the top of the path. Valentina Margalio, career high in second, ahead of Kimberly Boss, and Tina Herman, who led the rankings after Beijing. Tabby Sturker still in 6th position after 2 of the 3 races that she has completed this season.
And change.
So there you go, the World Cup rankings after the first part of the year. 5 more World Cup races to go, but before we get to the 5th and last of those, the 8th of the season in Lake Placid, we have the World Championships in Winterberg. So we commence again in the 2nd weekend of January. The athletes have a couple of weeks off now to head home or wherever they're going to go. A lot of them may well stay here in Europe, but with a bit of time off, A lot of them will head home to try and get a bit of R&R and just decompress after what's been a fairly high-pressure start to the season. Some great new names, new nations: Estonia, Colombia, Liechtenstein, Malta, all making their debut in the last couple of weeks in the women's skeleton field at the World Cup level. And the enhanced size of the field really bringing even more action to the skeleton world. Well, thank you for joining us for the 3 races so far this season. As I said, we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time in the second weekend of January. And we will be back racing there through the World Championships to the end of the season. My thanks to Nathan Crumpton for all his words of wisdom today. We'll see you for tomorrow's action, starting with the women's bobsleigh at 10:09 GMT. Until then, from all of us here, it's bye for now.
Okay.